Welcome to everyone, and this is Vance from Kopi with Vance. As usual, this is the signature thing that we always do, or I always do, is always to go for coffee first because that's why we call it Kopi with Vance. So, as usual, this time it's not water, it's definitely coffee. So, thank you for joining today. And of course, our posters all been up for the past 1 week. And the topic today we're going to cover is mental resilience. And if you notice that in the past 1.5 years of Kopi events, we have covered quite a significant number of talks, especially over every week at 10 p.m. And of course, the date has changed, but now we keep it at Wednesday, 10 p.m. Topic on mental resilience and mental awareness. We talked at least about 4 to 5 topics. I think more than that as well, because I think there is a need. I think it's urgency and it's awareness as well. So we need to create that. So we have experts who came on board. We have a psychiatrist, we got neurologists, we got all kind of experts who came in, endocrinologists, physiotherapy, so many topics that we cover. But until I think one of the most important topic that we always want to cover is, of course, mental resilience. And if you look at today's topic, we are covering a little bit more on depression, anxiety, and stress. Of course, when there's stress, there's of course depression and anxiety as well that come along. But before I'm going to pull up our guest speaker, and I'm also going to give the honor to ask him to do the introduction. I'm going to talk a little bit more on mental disorders as well, because depression is a common disorder, and one of the main causes of disability is worldwide, globally, and estimated is about 264 million. Right, people have been affected by depression. And what are the signs and symptoms? So these are the few things that we're going to talk about. But depression is characterized by sadness, loss of interest, pleasure, feeling you want to be isolated, or even for the fact of you don't feel self-worth, all right, disturbed, your sleep, your appetite, tiredness, poor concentration. And people with depression also may have multiple physical complaints. You don't feel like doing anything, right? No, not ability to work or even go to school or whatever it can be, right? But as we want to talk a little bit more on this topic as well, I think the most important person I'm going to pull up is Dr. Sean. So before we even go on to the topic, I'm going to get Dr. Sean up and then let Dr. Sean do his introduction, and then we're going to dive into a few more topics. As usual, we will have Dr. Arvinda, who will be coming in at the part about 30 minutes of our talk to enhance a lot more other details on the stats and as well as mental awareness as well. All right, so let me invite Dr. Sean Tang. Hello, doctor.
Hi, Vance. I hope you're doing well, Vance.
I'm good.
It's
How
a
about you,
very
sir?
difficult time right now. Yeah, I'm
That's
doing
right.
really well. Doing really well. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for joining
So
Kopi with Vance. Doctor, before we start on, maybe if you can do a humble introduction of yourself so that our viewers will know more about yourself before we can start into the topics.
yeah, definitely. So my name is Sean Tham. I'm a medical officer working in the Department of Psychiatry in the hospital in Kuala Lumpur. I've had the opportunity to serve in various capacities over a few institutions, all in the Department of Psychiatry, and I'm really happy to be here to just provide a bit of perspective into into the topic that we are having today, mainly on mental resilience. But we're going to just touch a little bit about what depression and anxiety is. So let me just share my slides and we go in from
Sure,
there.
doctor. Let's do that.
I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay.
Okay.
So viewers who are watching
Right.
this,
So
you can actually share all these videos in the same time. Put it into your social media so that more people are coming in. So we got more people are coming on board. Thank you so much joining in, all the viewers. Thank you, Fernando. Thank you so much, Sarita, Deepam. All thank you so much. Please share this video so that we have more people coming on board. So, doctor, before we even go into the slides, doctor, there has been the COVID, right?
yep.
Pre-COVID, now is so-called post-COVID, or not even really a post. But during this period of time, do you think the state of the mental illnesses, or rather mental related issues, do you think that is a rise in that?
Yeah, definitely. I think we better go into the slide because it's
Okay,
actually
I'll
my
bring the
first
slides
slide.
now.
It's
Okay,
actually
let's put it up
the
direct.
first slide that we are going to show.
Okay,
Mental health conditions
there you
are
go.
actually on the rise. Yeah. Even before the COVID-19 pandemic, it has been going up already. and
Okay.
signs are actually showing that it is being increased, it is being pushed up further higher during this pandemic. And this is a trend not seen only in Malaysia itself, but it's seen worldwide. So countries across the world are looking at the similar statistics that we have here. That is to say that mental health conditions are being rise. Now, one of these reasons could be because of the increased awareness. For the past decade, for the as we go along, more and more people are getting the importance and awareness of mental health conditions. We all know that health, basically, when we talk about health, we will be thinking about the physical health. If you fall down, you have a scratch on your hand, you're thinking that, oh, that's your physical health. When you're sick, you think of yourself getting better. So that's the physical health part of this. But um, following this recently, I mean, it's not say recently lah, but for the past few decades, we've been seeing more and more awareness regarding that health is not just the physical part, that includes also the mental part of a person. So a person's health cannot be complete if their physical health is perfect, but their mental health is not. So
Mhm.
we are getting more and more awareness and the drive to focus on the mental health, mental component. This is just to compare to the previous. I mean, just as a what they call it, additional evidence compared to the previous slide that says that actually, uh, if you look at the yellow color bar, is actually the symptoms. The percentage of United States adults are showing symptoms of anxiety and or depressive disorder. Um, January and this is so January to June 2019. This would be the pre pandemic period. Then the red color one would be at the beginning of the pandemic period, and then the purple one will be towards the end of the last year. You can see that numbers have been consistent. You see that started off being low, then at the beginning, I mean at the beginning of the period, you see a rise, and then towards the end of last year, the numbers actually is on an increasing trend. And I believe these symptoms would be seen the same worldwide. Now, I'm going to postulate the reason why this happened is because of many things. Okay, but what we have here is the keyword over here for me is actually loss. So you will see that there's a loss in terms of the economic activities during the pandemic itself. We in Malaysia and also in Singapore, you guys have a circuit breaker. We in Malaysia had the movement control order (MCO), that kept us at home. So when we were at home, we had a downgoing of economic activities. We couldn't carry out our own economic activities, and that loss causes a loss of earnings. We talk about being kept at home, and that cause a loss of freedom in the sense that we are not able. Previously we were able to go wherever we want. You can go to the park, go jogging if you feel you want to go to do some exercise. But because during the MCO, you are not during the lockdown period, you are not able to go out. So this causes to have a loss of freedom, and of course, along with the lockdown measures, you are not allowed to go meet your friends, not allowed to go and meet your family members. This caused a loss of companionship. All these things, coupled with the sense that we have a loss of health because of the pandemic. A lot of people all over the world are getting sick. They're getting admitted to the hospital. A lot of people had to go to the intensive care unit. This caused the loss of physical health, which could be part of the reason why people start to feel stressed. And therein comes the focus of our topic today. So all
Yeah.
these losses come together and cumulatively become a sort of stress on our body, and this stress can lead to many sequelae or complications in the future. So we talk a little bit about stress over here. Stress is like fire. There is a Malay peribahasa called kalau kecil menjadi kawan, kalau besar menjadi lawan, which basically means when it is small, it is your friend. When fire is small, you can use it to cook. That's great. But when the fire becomes too big, it becomes your enemy because it's not able to, it can damage things. It can hurt people, right? So stress is needed for us to do things. If you are not stressed about your exam, you won't study. Am I right?
Yeah.
So this stress is actually some sort of motivation for us to carry out our daily activities. So if you look at this chart here, if you have got no stress at all, you feel inactive, you feel bored, you'll just be lying on your bed all day. When you have a little bit of stress, it keeps you focused, it keeps you motivated. And this healthy tension actually push you up towards a peak performance level. Imagine yourself, if a dog is coming to chasing you and bite you, right? And you don't feel this stress, you just keep walking normally, the dog is going to catch up to you and bite on you, right? So if you really feel stressed, you will be running, and this will cause you to perform in a sense of running. Now, what happens if this stress goes too much? So you notice that when you are stressed, certain things happen. We use the analogy of the dog back again. When when you have stress, we have adrenaline pumping. When adrenaline pumps, you want to run. It actually triggers the fight and flight response in our body. So you want to run or you want to fight the dog, right? So when that happens, your body prepares itself. It's like a car engine. If you don't, the car has to start. Has to work before it can actually functions, right? So it's the same as that. Your body will actually start to prepare yourself to run. And how to run? So if you want to run, right, your heart must be pumping the blood to your entire body, correct or not? So your heart will be pumping faster. Then because you are going to run, you need more oxygen. You will be breathing more, meaning you'll be using more effort to breathe in and out. You'll be also, for you to run, you need to actually see further, so your pupils will dilate, and a lot of other small things lah. Your muscles will also feel tense so that you can actually run. So when all these things, if they keep, when they are at the optimal amount, you're able to perform well. But what happens if this stress is consistent, is persistent, is not coming down, it is always there, for a long period of time? Then you start getting fatigued, you start getting very tired to a point of exhaustion. And if this stress happens, again, and it's not relieved, you actually get something called what we call burnout. Burnout meaning you reach a point where you have already exhausted all your resources in your body, all your energy, your glucose, all your electrolytes, all have been used up. So you feel really down all the time, and that is the danger of stress if the stress is there consistently for a long period of time. We will be talking a little bit about the symptoms that you may have later. So I should have put a slide over here, but I think we're going to
Dr. Sean, just for a while,
Okay.
because I have Dr. Arvinda here in the house. Hello, Dr. Arvinda.
Hi Vance, hi Sean, hi guys, how are you doing?
Doc, I need you to speak a bit louder. It's kind of very muffled.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, hi guys, hi everyone. Are you okay?
Yes, it's better now.
I got my copy here.
Yes,
Okay,
Davinder.
that's good. Okay.
Hi.
So, okay, Dr. Sean, you were saying something, sorry? Your
Right.
slide.
So I was going to, yeah. So I was supposed to, hold on. Right. So I was supposed to come up with the symptoms first, but I thought I would focus more on what we can do, when we have got these kind of things, when we're talking about stress. So it is mainly about how we can cope with the stresses that come with our life that allows us to go further. Now, if we are, like I mentioned just now, if the stress is, if the stress is persistent for a long period of time, you will be exhausted, you will be burnt out. How we cope with this stress is the key to determine if we get to survive or if we will be affected poorly by it. And the tips here may seem to be like really general, may seem to be really simple, but these are really important things that I find a lot of people are not able to do so, not able to follow. The first thing over here is to eat healthy and eat well, eat a balanced diet. Um, a lot of people, especially when they are stressed, they people tend to stress eat, and when people stress eat, they eat whatever that they can find. Some people just eat on carbohydrates, and some people just eat on things. And sometimes, if you are eating something that are not nutritious enough, you get the complications from it lah. So like, let's say if you are eating fried stuff every day because it's fast food, because it's easy to obtain, you will be getting um, some of the complications. I'm not going to say see it, but you'll be getting some complications because you're not getting the nutritious components like the fiber, the vitamins that you need. Another thing is that a lot of people, when they are stressed, they find it very difficult to sleep. And if you are not able to sleep well, um, researchers have shown that a lot of complications come out. Especially, it will mess with metabolism. It will cause you to not able to concentrate the next day, because if you're not able to sleep well, you'll be feeling exhausted and tired, and therefore the next day you won't be able to perform at peak levels. A little bit of exercise will actually make you feel better. Exercising causes the release of endorphins. Exercise also allows you to feel better about yourself. Now, there are a lot of definitions of how much exercise is enough, but no matter what, find some time to do something, sweat a little out, and you will feel better. You definitely feel better.
Dr.
In the rest of
Sean,
the day.
I got to say this, right? Those who feeling stressed after a hard day, probably Dr. Arvinda might agree or disagree. After a good exercise, after a good perspiration, they feel better. What do you think about
Definitely.
Sorry, Vance, I didn't hear you. Can you say that
So
again,
what I
please?
said is, normally after a good exercise program or good perspiration, they feel better. Is there any particular reason why?
Well, Vance, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, better.
Yeah. So a couple of things I would like to add to what a very extensive and very good presentation by Sean. You see, the body works on a couple of things. They work on hormones, and then they work on your central nervous system. You have your parasympathetics and your sympathetics. So sometimes when some hormones are also regulated with the sympathetics and parasympathetics as well. So sometimes when you exercise this balance, actually it is just physical output. Sometimes some people, they are only doing mental work the whole day. So when they come back, they're tired. So some people wonder, hey, how can you be tired? You went to work, you don't do any physical activity. At the same time, you will go and you will see someone who is actually maybe repairing the road, doing a lot of physical activity. He comes back, he's tired. But there are two different types of tiredness. One is the physical tiredness and one is the mental tiredness. So you are mentally exhausted and you need a balance. I think in the past events we have spoken many times where we need a balance between these two. So I think when you exercise, what actually happens is you are striking a balance between the two. You're giving the mental side a break, okay, and also you are also exerting your physical side. So there is a strike off of balance, and of course with your sympathetics, parasympathetics, hormones coming into place, and also you must understand, when you exercise, everybody knows that when you exercise, you are actually doing something healthy. There's a feel good factor there. So when there's a feel good factor there, automatically you feel nice about yourself. So that is what another thing. That is what I hope it answered your question, Vance. Why?
Yes,
is,
yes.
Yeah.
Um, but most of the time after an exercise program, they do feel better. And like what Dr. Arvinda has said, Dr. Sean, is there any other scientific explanation you can tell us also?
Endorphins, you feel better. Yeah, it's that.
Okay, so now we are going to take a short question right now. This is, of course, regarding about teens. There is a question that came in: how to help a teen who self harms? I mean, it tends to be like um, when they not probably to handle certain failures, or I think most of the time it happens to a relationship, so they tend to feel very pressured, and then they tend to sometimes cut their hands, self inflict pains. What is your take on this, Dr. Sean?
Very important. The very important thing is number one to acknowledge the situation, and very important to listen to it. So you need to speak to the teenager, actually understand what's going on, and it's not just about hearing what they say, but the most important thing is to listen to them, actually understanding what's going on, and then be able to seek help after that, because at certain times, you are not able, uh, because the normal person on the street would not be able to provide the actual assistance required to the teen. So let's say if a teen is there and they have conducted an act that's designed to harm themselves, we need to first understand them, we need to listen to them, we need to what do you call, provide the acute care. We need to check if they are fine, if they are well, if they are fine, if and then bring them to the hospital as soon as possible.
Thank you, Dr. Sean. Dr. Arvinda, do you see any cases like this, parent approaching you?
Yeah, I get a lot of parents who come. Actually, you know what? Very honestly, Vance and Sean, just about a couple of days ago, I got a patient who came to see us, to see me, kept saying that didn't want to go to school. One day it was a tummy ache. One day it was something else. I don't feel well. I'm having a fever. A lot of kids these days mimic a cough because they know that if I have a cough, that means my parents won't send me to school. I mimic a cough in school. My teachers will say, you know what, go home. So there are a lot of other things on that matter, and you find that actually it's because of some amount of stress, some amount of disorder, some amount of pressing things that they are having and they're facing in school, and these are the few things actually that can be addressed. Unfortunately, sometimes when we see a lot of kids, I think I mentioned in the past also, Vance, the pressing issues with mental health among adolescents, children, and adolescents is actually at a very high rate. Perhaps in the past they were not diagnosed, and now because of better skills which we have, better understanding, better awareness, better pickup rates, you find that we are finding more and more. And I think the world has taken a dimension change now. You see that Vance, when and Sean can correct me if I'm wrong, when we guys were born, we didn't have a computer automatically in the house. We never knew what a handphone was, and at that time a handphone was a handphone. All right, I don't think it was a handphone. It was a arm phone. Now it's actually a palm phone, and you can do so many other things. Those days you just pick up the phone and call. I think even these days you can actually find a lot of difference. This is something which I practice. Everybody nowadays, when you wish anybody happy birthday is on social media, I make it a point to call people up. And the difference it actually makes just to pick up the phone and call someone and tell them happy birthday so and so, and call them and how are they. It's very different. So I think that dimension change has actually made the human mind having a bigger thirst for affection and all of this. And I think that has led to other mental disorders like depression, anxiety, stress. I think also some amount of attention seeking, being a human. So yeah, I think it's all in the big ball game altogether.
So we do have one viewer right now. She said that can severe lead to depression, be it teens or adults. But a question is this: They say that long-term depression can lead to memory loss. Can this happen? Dr. Sean, what is your take, please, sir?
Yeah, definitely. As in, not say that long-term depression can lead to memory loss. It's just that um, it's part of the symptoms of depression that you are not able to focus well, you're not able to um, put your focus on it, and then sometimes when depression is uh, at the more severe stage, sometimes people will not able to remember things that are being said to them because of various factors, not being able to concentrate, not being able to respond to the things. So yes, it can be seen in people. Hi Vance, I think you are
Vance, you're
muted.
muted, Vance.
Okay, so we have a viewer here. It said that self-harm can due to certain emotional triggered event, which can be conscious or unconscious, which can be held by finding the triggered event. Sometimes can be big or even or small event. But the problem is, I think people are very shy to approach for help, especially those who have certain conditions. I mean, burnout, anxiety, depression. It seems like very common nowadays because of the more hours we are working, the less time we are spending with our families and friends and deadlines and targets and so on and so forth. And to make things worse, COVID has add on more pressure on top of us. So we have been tested and we've been proven. But why do you think that the stigma of getting help? I mean, if someone sees a psychologist, oh, you must be mad, or someone sees a psychiatrist, oh, you must be. Why is this stigma still around? And when people are still afraid to approach doctors to speak about it. Maybe Dr. Harvinder, and then we take it on to Dr. Sean.
I think Sean will be a better person to answer this, but I can just give a bit of my suggestion. I think it is conscious or subconscious. Unconscious means you are out completely. So, just wanted to say that. Why can be helped by finding the triggered event? You see, which can be helped. The thing is, a lot of people. I think I won't say in certain countries. I say in most Asian countries, having a psychiatric visit is actually a very big stigma. Unfortunately, even when a patient has dementia, that means they keep forgetting, they go to a psychiatrist. Even if a patient has bipolar disorders, they act very violently or very subtly for a while, bipolar disorder, they also go to a psychiatrist. So there's a very big spectrum, and unfortunately, I think the bigger spectrum is the one which has gained attention in the past, rather than things like dementia, Alzheimer's, things like depression. Actually, depression, if you look at a depressed person, on a front they may be actually very, very, very normal, but it is what that is bothering them behind. I think a lot of this you can actually see in Hollywood, where you find many comedians, good comedians, who actually suffer from depression. So I think on a whole, I think that the stigma is because I feel that people just think that, oh, it's, in those days they used to say crazy, which is not the fact. It's not a fact. It can be the mind. Even the movie is called A Beautiful Mind. It has such a big spectrum that so many things can happen, and it's not easy to actually diagnose. So I think it's a misnomer, and I'm actually quite happy and pleased that you get a lot of very, very talented and good individuals, famous individuals coming out mentioning that they have some emotional and mental health issues, and some of them they don't, but they actually advocate. So I think Sean loves using this, and I'm going to say it now. I think it's okay to not be okay, and I think that is something which we have learned in the past, and I think it's something we should practice. Not only doctors, I think society as a whole. It's okay not to be okay, and there's nothing wrong in getting help. If you have a cough and cold, you go and see a doctor. There's nothing wrong with that. Even these days, there's a stigma. Oh, you have a cough means, oh, must be COVID. But it's not that. That's the problem. So I hope that in time to come, doctors like Sean will be people who actually, seeing patients as a society that actually accepts mental health as a normal cough and cold.
Thank you, Dr. Harinder. So now we're going to Dr. Sean. So, Dr. Sean, your take in this, sir.
Okay, talking about stigma, right, I offer you the historical perspective because as humans, if we have something that we don't know, we would strive to look for an answer to things. So when we all know that things like fever, people will come to the conclusion that it's because of a body issue. But when someone has got some things that they are not able to be explained, then people start thinking, oh, could this be something supernatural? And because of this, we tend to think that it could be an act of God. This God is punishing this individual because of something bad that they have done, causing them to have a worse stigma to the person. And this is something that has been passed down from generations, centuries to centuries, generation, which caused us to have this dislike towards these people. Well, but we are a society defined by science, and right now we are getting more and more knowledge, and through our researchers, through our technology, and definitely we are seeing more and more people coming to us because we are getting the awareness that this is actually not it's not something supernatural. It is science. It is happening because the body is not functioning well, and that's good because we want to help.
Thank you, Dr. Sean.
Sean had mentioned something very interesting. In the past, I think I would say in the last 10 years, I would see patients who have come for mental health issues after having gone to shamans. So the
Very
doctors are the
common,
second
very common.
Yeah, the doctors are the second line there. But unfortunately, I think Sean has hit the nail right on the head there. I think it is at the end of the day, it's awareness to know that it is common. Okay, for example, if a person has cough and cold, I doubt that they will actually go and seek the supernatural cure for it. So I think it is something that we are heading into that direction, where mental health has to be accepted as part of your general health, and as how WHO has put it. Yeah.
Okay, there's a little bit of echo is going on, and we try to solve that issue, but we still carry on. Okay, so we do understand that from earlier on that that a teen who self harms, of course, definitely the parents. I mean, sometimes the parents get overworked, and then they try to discipline the kid. But I think like what Dr. Sean and Dr. Arvinda has said, I mean, we got to understand what the kid is feeling it or the child is feeling it, and to have to understand really in terms of what current situation can be. Is it can be bullying, or is it kind of central stress? Like Dr. Arvinda, you say that the child comes to you and say that constantly having different kind of sickness not to go to school. So probably the stress can happen there even by the teachers or the peers or students, or some kind of thing is going through the child. So as a parent, I think it's very important to understand, because we were kids before as well. But it's just that when we grow older or wiser, we tend to forget how we were in the past. So we tend to, push all the authorizations. Oh, you'll be fine, so and so forth. So I think it can be very, very stressful. I totally agree with the both of you.
But also, growing up in the past and growing up now is two different things, Vance. I think, growing up in this day and age, I think the challenges are so different. I think one of the problems is that the parents these days, they don't know what is it like growing up, for a child growing up with all the different equipment, the different technology which is around. So I think it's a generation gap which is changing. Unfortunately or fortunately, in some good ways, it's changing for the better. Unfortunately, that better is also bringing new problems in.
Okay, now we're going to go to the next questions. Of course, is the hidden signs of depression, how to spot them and what to do. We talked about stigma, we talk about taboo. I know, certain society, talking about depression is still a kind of a taboo, all right? They think that the person not able to handle the situation or something happened to the situation. But of course, like every incident, there must be a trigger point, like what Dr. Short has mentioned earlier in the slide, that something happened during the childhood, or even for factor as a stress. Maybe with the stress, then it leads to all the other problems. So maybe we can start with Dr. Arinda, sign and symptoms, and how what to do with them. Then we will jump into Dr. Sean.
Maybe we let Sean start because this
Okay,
is
Dr. Sean.
totally on Sean's field.
Okay.
Sean, maybe you want to start, bro?
Yeah, I mean, signs. Okay, signs of depression. I mean, specific here. Signs and symptoms would. I would say some people. Sometimes it is a very wide. Presentation is a very wide range. Some people will come in with clear cut signs. Some people will come with uh signs that are not easy to pick up. But generally speaking, the signs include a period of having low mood, period of having lack of interest, no interest, no energy. Some things you're having low appetite, difficult sleeping, loss of appetite comes with loss of weight, difficulty sleeping. People may have feel of excessive guilt. People may be feeling really just that they are like useless, they are worthless. Sometimes people may have thoughts of harming themselves, also thoughts of seeking death. These are the overt signs, but it also can come up, present in a sense that you're having difficulty in focusing, difficulty in terms of concentration, also somatic complaints, which is body symptoms, like feeling muscle aches here and there, feeling pain. So these are symptoms that can point towards depression. But the thing that for us to know is that it is really, it may be quite general. It may be quite general, and sometimes having that does not mean that you have depression. What to do when you actually have got these kind of symptoms, and these symptoms should be based on ICD and DSM, which is the classifications that we use. These symptoms has to be there for about more than 2 weeks. To be persistently there for more than 2 weeks before we can actually formally diagnose. But like I said, the symptoms are actually quite general. If you feel that you may have this kind of symptoms, it is very advisable for you to seek help from a medical professional. You can see a doctor, can see a psychologist or counselor. These are people who are trained in identifying these issues, and we will be able to refer you or direct you to the right people to help you. Not depression is not like just clear cut yes or no. It's not binary. It comes in different levels. Some people are mild, some people moderate, some people severe. Some people require a trip to the counselors, to talk things out, to vent things out, and they may feel better after that. Some people require medications to help them feel better. The key point that I need to emphasize here is, if you feel that you may require assistance, please go seek help. And then we will be able, trained medical personnel will be able to direct you to the right place and right treatment.
Thank you, Dr. Sean. So now we're going back to Dr. Arminda. But Dr. Arminda, I'm kind of going to come in a different angle. Okay, Dr. Sean has told what are the signs and symptoms. But Dr. Arminda, what happens if someone, he goes to work, he comes back, he got full of responsibility, just that, sometimes, rocky relationship in the family. So where is the line that we are talking about, right? He looks perfectly fine, but in the mind and the body is just burnout and exhausted. So how do we really put it into a perspective?
Sorry, Vance, you were cut off halfway. Can you just share with me again?
Okay, so what I meant is, what is the line that we are talking about in between depression and in the verge of depression or even burnout?
Yeah. So, like I think I've mentioned before, depression and having grief, I think are two different things. Whenever you are facing with a problem, you may have grief. You lose a loved one, you may have grief. But whether you go into depression, I think it is not really so. You have grief, and then there's a certain period of time, and depression comes with many things, like what Sean had actually mentioned, the international ICD code. ICD-10, which we follow these days, where there are certain symptoms actually fit, and then we say that they are having depression. However, I think personally speaking, from many years of practice, not everybody gets the same symptoms. Some may actually manifest more in one thing than the other. For example, you may have a patient who actually comes with weight loss because they don't eat, but there are some patients who come in with weight gain. Both of them are having depression. Why? Because some of them, they feel so depressed that they start eating. Some of them, they feel so depressed that they can't eat. So some people have early morning awakening, they can't sleep at night. Some people can. It's a mixed picture, but I think certain things more than the other actually shows how severe it becomes. So I think there are a couple of things. Hidden signs of depression, I think it is sometimes even very difficult for medical professionals to say. Sometimes we go with our experience and the basic signs and symptoms which are there, but sometimes it can be very difficult because depression may or may not come with suicidal thoughts. Depression may come with anxiety. Depression may come with stress. Depression may come with some bipolar disorder. Some days they are actually very low and they are subtle, and one day they are actually very excited.
Dr. Arvind, I got to stop you here for a while.
Yeah.
I have a viewer who want to come on live to talk his or her experience. So can we just hear what that particular person wants to say?
Sure.
Hello there.
Hey, hi.
Okay, I know you don't want to show us your identification, but that's okay.
No, it's okay.
So what do you want to share us?
I'm actually in a cab right now.
Okay, so what do you want to share with us?
I suffered from depression, and the symptoms will be like low mood, insomnia, loss of interest, anger, suicidal thoughts, and it can last up to about 2 months or so. But that is because it is sorry. It is because of my pills I'm taking. As you all know, I'm a trans woman, so I'm on hormone pills. So these pills that I take are actually giving me severe mood swings.
How are you feeling right now?
No, now, okay. Honestly, I just recovered from a 2-week depression period. So I've just recovered, thank God. So hoping that it can last for more than 3 months or so, because my depression comes every 3 to 4 months. But the thing is, through experience, I somehow know when it's going to come. So before it comes, I create a positive environment for myself so that I can fight the depression symptoms. It actually comes from experience. I think those people who are new to depression will not be able to recognize the symptoms at first, but after a while, as they go through many periods of depression, we become pretty experienced in how to combat it. Of course, it differs from person to person. Some may not be able to fight, some will be able to fight. So I will still recommend that you see a psychiatrist or somebody to talk to. A support group is very important. They need to form a circle of friends who can treat them, to watch over them. And these friends must be actually proactive and positive, because sometimes people do not take depression very seriously. People who suffer from depression are stigmatized. Some are just blamed to be crazy. So to find that kind of people to support you can be quite difficult actually, but it's not impossible.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you're fine because, like what you mentioned, you are doing all those remedies and things are going very well for
Very well
you.
for you.
Yeah, at the
Yeah, at the
moment, touch
moment,
wood.
touch wood. Sorry, can I just quickly ask, what is the trigger of your depression or your sadness? Can I ask?
So, like I said, it is my pills, the hormone pills I'm taking at the moment. So when depre- when the depression triggers off, I cannot tell seriously. It will just come. It's like an invisible tank coming towards you, but you can't see it. As long as I stop taking the pills, my depression will stop. I know that, but I cannot because I'm a trans woman. See, that is our plight. That's our difficulty. Well, I mean, our situation is actually very difficult to understand. So sometimes I tell people to accept us without understanding. We got to depend on our pills. Our pills will give us side effects. We don't have a choice. Of course,
Thank you
we must.
for joining us today and letting us how you felt. We really hope everything is well for you with your
Yeah,
current condition. And also, I think you are better because we had a conversation as well. So keep the conversation going on. And like I
mm,
said, yeah, always been referred. I mean, with whatever the specialists you need to see, please do see them and then seek help if it's needed. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. So we'll catch you again.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Arvinda, we are now going to a few questions that came in.
Does depression or mental instability hits you unknowingly and slowly? How can you be self-aware? Well, that's a tough question. Sometimes a person may be depressed, but you see, a lot of them may not know that they are depressed. That is why I think it is important for people around you to actually share that, look, that okay, this person may be depressed, this person may be you may look out for signs for people who are depressed. It may not be in your workplace, it may be among your friends, maybe among your family members. So I think it's quite different lah. I think sometimes it's not easy to tell whether you're depressed. Sometimes even doctors, when we learn psychiatry, right, we actually said, oh, I have this, am I having this particular disorder? But it may not be. I think sometimes it is more important to get professional help, but it's very good to actually screen. So that is why I always recommend things like the DAS 21 scale, the depression anxiety stress scale 21. It's not a diagnostic tool, but it's a very good screening tool to actually get mental health assessment for depression, anxiety and stress. You see, the word mental instability, I think it's not I personally don't use the word mental instability. I would say a person with mental health issues, because instability can mean many things. At the same time, it may not mean what it seems to be. Bipolar can be a mental sort of mental instability. Depression can be a sort of mental instability. I think it is just a mental health issue until it is proven what it is. Even I think psychiatrists sometimes have problems saying that, and they have to discuss among them. So it can happen unknowingly, it can happen slowly. I think that is why I always feel sometimes, because we are not self-aware, because we don't know or people don't tell us, the most important thing is to have a mental health screening. And that is why I keep recommending that yearly
Hello.
for occupational health. I do a lot of occupational health as well. I keep telling people or recommending to people that at least once a year you always do medical checkup. You give all these vouchers and coupons for people to go and get medical health checkup. Why can't you just give them a 21 questions of the DAS scale, just to do a mental health screening? It's not even an assessment, it's just a screening. Why can't we do that? And then maybe get our workers to actually look at what their mental health status is and then move forward from there. So yeah, I think that's the few things which we can actually do to help. Yeah.
So next question is for Dr. Tam. Dr. Sean. Dr. Sean, I think the connection is bad today.
Sean, there's a question for you. I think it's on the screen, Sean.
Can you hear?
All right, thanks.
Okay, maybe Dr. Arvinda, you want to take
Sorry
that?
about my.
Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, sorry about that. My internet connection, I had to change
Yeah.
to my phone. Okay, so the question over here is, can medicine cause or worsen depression, right? Um, to be honest, depression is an illness of chemicals in the brain, and one specific neurotransmitter called serotonin. And when serotonin levels are low, the theory goes, when the serotonin levels are low, you are not able to produce the happy feeling, we would say, in really simple terms, that allow you to feel happy and feel energetic for this for the daily activities. Now, if the medications that are given are tailored, to focus on increasing serotonin levels in your brain, it actually theoretically would mean you just improve your mood lah. Should be there to improve, make you feel better. Well, I don't, but medications is mainly is a lot about finding the right medication at the right dose and at the right um, amount and the right route. So it may take some time to reach the required effect that you want the medication to reach. So if these medications do not do not make you feel better immediately, that is nothing to be worried about. You need to consult your doctor so that we can actually come up with the uh, right formula for you.
Thank you, Dr. Sean. How's my echo right now, Dr. Arvinda? Is there still echo?
No, there's no echo. It's great.
Okay.
It's great.
The connection is quite bad today, but we will still go on. Next, we are going to go to the anxiety. Maybe Dr. Arvinda, you want to take that first before we go on to Dr. Sean?
Sure. Anxiety. How bad can it be? Wow. It's like asking me, how bad can a headache be? It can range anything to very mild to extremely severe. Um, Anxiety, I have seen some people who have anxiety of certain things. They have anxiety of speech when they go up in front of crowds. They have anxiety when they see certain foods, or they can't eat, they get anxiety. I've seen people who have so bad social anxiety. They see a lot of people, they go to a public place for public transport, they see so many people, they start getting anxious, they start getting so bad anxiety that they can't travel. And I've seen some people who refuse to step out of the house because they're actually worried. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I've actually seen a lot of patients relapse. Those people who were very conscious about infections, always scrubbing and washing their hands, always sanitizing their hands, worried that they will catch an infection. And this anxiety became worse during the COVID-19 pandemic because we were encouraging more and more people to wash their hands very often. And that unfortunately has led to a couple of more people who had the relapse of their anxiety, or some people even getting worse or getting anxiety, newly diagnosed anxiety. So some people are so anxious that they don't want to go out of the house because they're so worried that the moment they go out of the house, they're actually going to get COVID. So it can actually be very trivial anxiety, meaning oh yo, did I actually forget to lock my car? I forgot. That anxiety, up to, oh my god, I can't go out. If I'm going to go out, I'm going to get COVID. So that's a lot of things. I also see another question, that can anxiety cause violence? I think it's a mixed thing. They can get very anxious, that they can get angry, I don't know about violence, physical violence. Maybe Sean, have you seen something like that before, that they get so anxious that they start getting violent?
Uh, People will get irritable, people will get upset, but violence, I haven't seen one myself.
Right. I have read a couple a couple of things in the in journals where a lot of I would say domestic abuse which happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of it was related to some depression and anxiety. So I don't think it's a direct thing which you can say anxiety causes violence, but the anxiety may lead to something else, may lead to something else, may lead to something else, which causes violence later. But I don't think that you say that the person has anxiety, they actually become violent. Most of the time when they have anxiety, they actually remain rather quiet, or they appear very jittery. They appear that they are not comfortable, but not one that they actually get violent very very fast or severely. um, have you seen a lot of domestic abuse coming in because of anxiety, Sean?
To be honest, I think it's very much center dependent. My center has not seen any. I mean, I myself have not seen anything lah.
Right.
But really, it depends on who you are. I mean, who you have been seeing at the point of time.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Dr. Sean, for spending us almost 56 minutes with us. And we still have some issues on that. We will meet up again. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Sean.
Thank you, Vance. Thank you, Avinda.
Hey Sean,
Thank
take
you.
care, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Arinda.
Yes, Vance.
So there's last one more question, and then we can actually come to the end of the session itself. We have, I think, the last question that's supposed to be answered here. Just a minute. Okay, so even we have a particular member. He said that he is also a hypnotherapist and he see a rise on the mental health issue. What is your take on this, doctor? Because we know that after COVID, I mean, still under progress, we do see a lot of cases that leads to extreme cases that I'm talking about, even in both Malaysia and Singapore. Which of course, we are going into the stage of taking their own life away. So, what is your take on that?
So I think I would agree that mental health is on a rise, but whether it was on a rise or whether it was all undiagnosed in the past, it still remains a very big question. But nevertheless, it does not change the magnitude. It is there, and it is for us to detect, or it is for us to actually encounter and even diagnose it, and also treat it early. Because as you know, in the past, we have always mentioned that mental health, if you treat it early, you diagnose it early, you treat it early, the outcomes are actually so much more better. So I think with where the trends are going, with science and technology getting better and better, and our understanding of psychiatry much better than maybe 20-30 years ago, I think we find that we are actually diagnosing very early. We are coming up with tools that are diagnosing things very early these days. Like in the past, let me skew off a bit. In diabetes, you would find that only if you are 7 and above, you actually get diabetes. But now it's come down to 5.6. Why did they come down to 5.6? Why did they not really leave it at 7? It's because they find out that once you hit 5.6, most of them end up being diabetics. So they reduce the number so that you can take early interventions. So I think the same thing has happened with mental health, where early interventions have helped a lot of people. Thus, and because the bar has been reduced slightly, a lot of them are actually diagnosed much earlier. So a lot of people say, hey doc, they purposely do this, you know why? They want to sell their drugs. No, because early detection does not mean medication altogether. They can get other professional help, like psychologists, a hypnotherapist who is there. I remember seeing a hypnotherapist, let me see, in the year 2009. I actually had a very bad jet lag. I came back from the UK. I could not sleep. I think it was a good 2 months. I only had about 2 hours sleep a day. And one of the psychiatrists, actually, I was doing my psychiatric posting there. She used to tell me, this doctor used to come and tell me, Arvinda, you don't look like you've slept. I said, yes, I'm having insomnia. She said, no problem. I'm having a hypnotherapy session this afternoon. It's a patient who can't sleep. Why don't you just join? That's it. And I joined, and I tell you, for that first day in 2 months, in the afternoon where I was wide awake, I had one of the best quality sleeps I ever had. So when people say, oh, hypnotherapy is all mumbo jumbo, no, it's not. It's, and I started reading a lot about hypnotherapy. It's how they go down to that exact waves. They start talking to you in a soothing voice that your brain actually records whatever is happening, and it helps. So yeah, I think the hypnotherapist there is absolutely spot on. Mental health is probably prevalent, very prevalent. It's just that maybe we're picking it up better, but nevertheless, it does not change the magnitude of us having to treat. It is still a problem which we have to address.
Thank you, Doctor. So we have covered quite a number of questions today. And of course, I do know that there's some internet connection issues over there, but we are still going through it, even though I can hear my own echo. But anything last that you want to say regarding about mental resilience, how one should be taking care of themselves? Because I will leave that question to you because I got a lot of echo coming in, so you got to take the
Actually,
front.
you're not having any echo vents on my side. I actually can hear you very clearly.
Okay, that's good then.
Okay, I actually have just these 3 very short slides here, which I thought can just help everybody with their understanding. Maybe one moment.
Okay,
Maybe I can just quickly share it. It will take less than
sure, you
less
can do
than
that.
yeah, less than 5 minutes. I can assure you. I'll put you out of your misery very, very fast. And here we go. Yeah. So is my slides on? Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Yeah. So the most important thing is it okay to not be okay? Hey, it's okay, because a lot of people think that I'm not okay and it's a problem, but they don't understand that. Sean would have told you. In the show, if he didn't already mention that it's okay not to be okay. It's common. Now, what can also happen if mental resilience is left alone? We know that mental health is all about early detection, acceptance, and getting back on track, like what I mentioned before. But the most important thing that if you don't, what can happen if mental resilience is not there? Mental resilience is mentally being prepared for something. You are having enough of mental health, how shall I put it, mental health capacity or mental health resilience that you can actually face a lot of things. But the moment that actually goes, you are actually looking at depression, anxiety, stress, social phobias, or any phobias. It may affect your work performance, it may affect your family ties, but even worse still, it may, and in very severe cases, lead to suicidal thoughts, or even worse. Thoughts are different, and also conduct of it is actually different. So sometimes we actually see these type of things that are happening because of mental resilience. That is why I honestly feel, in fact, today when you see you find that a lot of adolescents are having mental health issues, children are having mental health issues as young as the age of 5. I think it should be put in the school curriculum, or a small section. I remember during my days in school, they had they call it pembimbing rakan sebaya, your own peers, whereby it's a peer support group. I think it's a very, very early form of peer support group. I think that should actually be an enhanced, number 1. Number 2 is, I think during physical education, they shouldn't call it physical education, they should call it health education per se, because physical health and mental health falls under health. So they can also add components there, and don't make it exam based. You don't want a kid to actually remember, oh, depression is this, 1 2 3 4 5, anxiety is 1 2 3 4 5. That may actually lead to the kid to actually feel bad. Yes, sir.
So there's about 264 million people affected by depression. This by WHO.
Right.
and also by bipolar disorder and all other related mental illnesses that's coming up. So, do you
Yeah.
think that the rise is up and a lot of cases are coming up as well?
Like I said, Vance, in the past, you may see, okay, I just give you an example. Maybe you go, you walk, you're having your favorite char kway teow, and then you look up, you see someone who has not taken his bath for maybe a couple of weeks.
Weeks.
Yeah, it happens. I don't know, in Singapore, in Malaysia it does. You see, you can see them. They don't take their bath. They're wearing old clothes. They're wearing tattered clothes. They are wearing they are in a state of it is a non-hygienic condition. Sometimes you look at their feet, you may see maggots coming out and all that, and then you find that this person, in the past they call them vagabonds, and they say that, hey, this guy is a homeless guy, something is wrong with him. But actually, if you go and you look, I have seen a lot of times they come from very, very distinguished families. I mean, they're very famous parents, very famous brothers and sisters. But why are they like that? It's not because of anything. It's not a social problem. Unfortunately, it's a mental health issue which they are having, and that is what needs to be addressed. So in the past, I think we would have just written them off as homeless people, or people with very poor social support. Unfortunately, they're actually people with mental health issues. Now today we can actually tell you that they're people with mental health issues. So previously, some things which were categorized in other areas has now come under mental health, and that is why it's expanding. That's my opinion.
Okay, doctor. I mean, we have covered today quite a number of topics, and of course, I know there will be more topics that's coming up. Any wise words that we should do to take care of ourselves? Sometimes we are always rushing and put a lot of pressure. So, what do you suggest?
You see, the problem with today's world is everybody is chasing for something. They're running for something. Nobody walks anymore. They're all running for something. You look, when I love Singapore, is a very close place to my heart, because I have been to Singapore as a very young child. I make it a point in the past, before the pandemic, to visit my family and friends there. You see many people who are it's a very developed country, and even Malaysia, you will see that in very big cities like Kuala Lumpur, you will see people of two different stages. You see people who are rushing. At the same time, you stop and wonder, wow, that guy is rushing so far. There must be something so urgent that he has to go. But it may just be, if you travel the public transport daily, you'll find that same guy rushing every day, and you wonder, hey, is this guy actually late, or is he just like that? Unfortunately, he may be thinking already on the day, oh, okay, you know what, I have to go to work, I have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And he's already focused on that day. I'm not saying that focus is bad, but I think because of the pressures of trying to achieve and fulfill something which may be humanly unrealistic is the cause of what we are seeing. The issues of mental health probably becoming more and more. Sometimes we are assisted with technology, but because we are so spoiled with assisted with technology, we think we can achieve more, and sometimes we actually set goals and targets which is unrealistic. So I think we have to plan ourselves very well, plan our time well, plan the whole day well, and give us realistic targets. So that is among the few things which I would recommend. And also, I think the most important thing is we must remember that to at least get a mental health assessment. There's nothing wrong seeking for mental health support. Top athletes seek sports psychologists these days to help them mentally prepare for a game. These are healthy athletes. Why should they require? Because mental health is a very important aspect. So there's nothing wrong if you want to go and seek help from a doctor from mental health issues, because it's part of your health. Accept it.
Thank you, doctor, for joining us. For almost you and Dr. Sean, and there's still some bad connection today. Not sure why, but we need to sort out that, and we will definitely will come back again for part two, and then we will try to dive in a little bit more deeper with maybe with either with a psychiatrist or even with a psychologist on board as well. All right, doctor.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Vance.
So thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much for having me on the show. Really appreciate it. Always a great and pleasure to be on Kopi with Vance. My copy is just about done. So
I was going to
the
finish it
show
up.
is just about done. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm not speaking so much today because that's huge echo that's coming in. I got a lot of messages coming in through messages that the echo is loud, but apologize. It do happen, some technical issue. But we will definitely come back with another topic because there's a lot of things that we wanted to ask, but the echo is just creating some inconveniences. But nevertheless, means that we're going to come back again.
Yes, Vance. Also, I would like to congratulate you. I actually am very happy that someone has been watching a lot of your fans who have been watching the show. Some of them who actually have an issue has actually brave themselves to come up. I think it's a very brave thing to come up and speak, and I hope that this acts as an inspiration to other people to, I mean, they may need not come up on social media, but at least seek support. And you must understand that you're not alone. So I am very grateful. I am sorry I did not get that person's name, but I hope she's feeling much better, and I sincerely hope that things get better, and I'm sure it will. I hope that if she must remember that there are good doctors like Sean, there are great people like Vance who are all out to help people, and I think we need more human beings. There's a lot of vacancy in this part of the field where of being
Lots
a
of
good
it.
human. Yeah, and there's very little competition. There are a lot of vacancies, but there are very little competition. So yeah, I am very happy that someone has stood up and spoken today, and I hope more people will do the same later on.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much, and we will come back again. We're going to solve out this issue, but I know probably there was some internet connection problem over there, but it seems like connection problem here. There's a very bad echo right now, but we will come back again on the part two again, and we'll take it on this more. Thank you, Dr. Arinda.
Okay.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you for joining us. And if you notice now, the echo has gone, apparently. We do have some internet connection problems, difficulties, technical issues that actually cause a lot of inconveniences over the past 1.5 hours, 1 hour 15 minutes, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't speak much. But I think it's maybe there are some issues connection. Connection I had Malaysia. So I think that is why when our guest speakers came in, there was a huge disturbances, especially the connection wasn't there and the echo was there. But now it seems like it cleared already. So that was Dr. Arvinda and Dr. Sean was giving us their expertise and what are the areas that we can look at in terms of mental resiliences. And one thing that we need to let our viewers know that we try to bring in our experts in, especially Dr. Arvinda, our guest speaker. And as in the past videos that we've seen, that we have our psychiatrists and neurologists. So we're trying to bring in all the experts to come in to create awareness, not only in the mental part, but we also go into the physical part as well. So having said that, in the next upcoming videos, upcoming live, sorry, we have our doctors online on board, which we are going to talk about the gut health, and then we're going to go into orthopedics. We're going to talk about bone. So we got all interesting talks that line up. But I know that this has not been a satisfied session. I feel it as well because there's a lot of questions that I want to ask, but the echo is just bouncing back and front and back and forth. So I don't want to create some disturbances when the speakers are speaking. But we are going to come back in part two, maybe probably another session that along the week that we're going to dive in a little bit, because there's been a concern that people go through some kind of stress, some kind of depression, and some kind of anxiety, and how these things can be to keep in bay, possible to keep in bay, because like what Dr. Arvinda has said, most of the time we are always rushing for the bus, rushing for the trains, we take things, everything not lightly, everything we take it seriously. I think that is a problem. The problem starts when we take things seriously, and sometimes we forget ourselves, who we are, and sometimes we don't turn inwards rather than every time we are turning outwards. So that's a problem that issues comes by. But it's easy to say, but it's tough on certain situations because every situation is different. But in the observation of my 22 years of career in what I do, I have noticed that when you turn inwards and look at possibilities of areas that you want to find solution, which if you are feeling burnout, then you got to take a rest, right? Burnout is a very easy to get nowadays, right? Especially now the workforce is going back to work, and you tend to have a little phobia, and you tend to work harder. So that's a problem, right? Not necessarily to luxuriously spend lots of money, but do things like go for a walk in the nature, go by the beach side. Sometimes you just need to date yourself, right? Just go out yourself, have some time, maybe watch a movie yourself, all right? Go with your family. You need to appreciate yourself. We work like machines. I think that is the main problem in this modern society, like what Dr. Arinda and Dr. Sean has said. Dr. Arinda has just nailed it. We tend to work like machines, and we don't tend to laugh sincerely. That's a problem. We don't laugh sincerely, and everything is just like a face mask, a different mask to suit different status. Like, because of the situation that we are in, and in this different era that we are lived. And if you look at it, things have changed over the past 50 years, 60 years, right? We don't, now it's easier to reach people and friends and families through um, internet connections. We have Wi-Fi, we have, sessions like this. It also definitely have improved the human performance, definitely. Human accessibility, it definitely has achieved it, but same time it also has done its damages, which we tend to hooked on it. And impulsive disorder, which I wanted to talk today, we tend to get appreciation by likes and that kind of stuff, but the echo has just completely made me silent. But Dr. Arvinda has said it, and we're definitely going to come back on part 2 of this topic again, because there's few other topics that we want to talk about. Anxiety, it's another thing that I deal with most of the time. Not for myself, a lot of people that I know. And one of the area is because unknown things which might happen, may not happen. We think about it. Fear as well. All right, fear is just temporary. It's a placebo where you think that might happen, might not happen, and then you are totally screwing up your entire hormones and chemicals in our body, and that being affected, like what you said, the dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. That's why when you exercise, it's definitely bring up your booster hub, right? You feel definitely good. You're not necessarily going to the gym. When I say exercise, doesn't mean gym. You can go for your nature walks. You can do your exercises at home. You can jump around. Exercise means doing it something that is fun and safe. That's all I'm talking about. Even if you perspire, that would be definitely best. If you have the accessibility to go to the gym, then please go ahead. You will feel better for sure. All right, exercise is just one part. But in the other part that we talked about earlier in the talk session, that's a lot of other stuff. You need to do self-care. You are an investigation officer for your own self, where you need to sit and identify what is the issue with me, what is the issue, or probably I'm not spending enough time with my friends. Then you have to do, or probably I'm not spending time with my family. Then you got to do. And if you think that you're exhausted, you got to rest. One of the things that I see very often among my friends and families and so on and so forth is burnout. That's the topic that we talked earlier on. So we need to identify all these problems, and we need to keep it. And if certain areas, if we think that we might not be able to, assess it, then we need to seek help. We shouldn't be looking at judgment or comments or even taboo topics. No, nothing about that. It's just about yourself. So if anything that rocks your boat, you got to do it. All right, because at the end of the day, this is the mission, or rather, this is the temple that we live in. So you got to take care of it, right? Okay, I've said enough. We are going to come back on part 2 again. The dates have not been finalized. I will speak to my speakers, and we will come back in part 2. For now, signing off. Kopi events. I will see you around on the part 2 on mental resilience. For now, ciao, adios, amigos.